Have you ever thought about adding maybe a yoga class to your timetable, or bringing on a sports massage therapist to do some massages in a clinic that doesn't currently have that service? Or perhaps you have thought about starting a walking club or a running club. Basically, another new service, thinking that this might be an opportunity to fix your revenue problem. I want to talk on this episode about why that's probably not the right answer and what you guys should be focusing on instead. So, we're going to talk today about distractions, and we're going to talk about dilutions, how they show up in your clinic and in your life, and how they stop us really from creating that real growth and that real impact that we are looking for. So, let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome to the Treat Your Business podcast with Katie Bell. I'm Katie, and this is the place where clinic owners like you learn the strategies, tools, and mindset shifts needed to transform your clinic into a thriving business, one that gives you more time, more money, and more freedom. Born from a passion to challenge the idea that average is normal, we empower clinic owners to create extraordinary businesses, incomes, and lives. Through our world-class coaching programs, we help you step out of overwhelm and into confidence, turning your clinic into a business that fuels your lifestyle, not draining it. So, are you ready? Let's dive. So, clinic owners love to chase new things. Now, if you have come to any of my events in the past, you will know what colour you are. If you are one of our clients, you will know what colour you are. And for my fellow yellows listening to this, or the typical visionaries listening to this, we don't have a lack of ideas. We have so many ideas, but we can't possibly implement them all at once. However, I still like to think that I can and do them all yesterday, and much to my team's frustration. But it feels exciting, doesn't it, to come up with these ideas? Like we're getting some momentum, and these are the things that give us that great feeling about how we run our business. But it's often when we're chasing new things or we're thinking about all the things we want to implement, it's often an escape from the hard stuff, the things that we really need to be focused on. And common reasons for chasing new things can be that we aren't really clear about where we're going and what our strategy is and our financial projections and plan is for the year. And therefore, we just flip from one thing to the next thing, and we come up with all these ideas, and we think by implementing them all, we will ultimately grow in some form. But what often I see happening is we end up just creating more work, but actually no more revenue and profit for ourselves. Or we might create a bit more revenue, but we don't actually make any more money as a result of it. Another reason is that we feel like we're stagnating. We fear if we're not implementing all these ideas that our team might be like bored around us, or we're not great business owners. We're not great visionaries if we're not constantly coming up with the ideas all the time. It often is copying competitors, the whole scrolling on Instagram, seeing what everybody else is doing and then thinking that's what you need to do in your clinic. Is it boredom? I'm going to say probably not boredom, because you're all too busy to be bored, but it might be that you're feeling a bit unfulfilled or unsatisfied with your clinic as it is. And it could be pressure from clients as well, or staff. Like, we desperately want, don't we, as leaders, for our staff to bring great and new ideas to us. But when we do, we then feel like we need to chase those and we need to implement all of them because they need to be heard, and that you want to be a boss that like takes people's ideas on board. And clients always come up with great ideas, and then you think, Sheila, have you got any idea what it actually takes to run this business? Because if you did, that idea would not be something that you would want, that you would put forwards. They mean in the best possible way, but often it's pressure from all of those sources that makes you think you need to chase the next new thing. And I brought this to this episode because over recent weeks, I've heard a lot about distractions and about dilutions. And one of the things that we work really hard on in Thrive is being able to call you out on a distraction or a dilution away from actually what the plan is, because you're all so busy and you can implement basically 1% to 5% of all the things that you actually think you need to implement in your business. And you don't have to change a million things all at once to make some quite radical changes to your profit levels and to your numbers. But all of you, in my opinion, I've never met anybody that I think is nailing the less is more analogy. I think you're all thinking that more is more, and that sometimes in business, one of the hardest things that you have to learn is that there will be things that definitely need fixing, or are just like a fucking mess, or there's a shitstorm going on, but they're just going to have to stay like that for a little bit longer. You can't fix everything all at the same time. And I hear lots of conversations with our clients. They get to reach out to us every single week. They have access to us. And so I'm constantly hearing about things that they might be wanting to implement. They might be wanting to take forwards. And some of the things that have come up recently made me think this would be a great episode to talk about. So one of the clinics that we work with wanted to add a yoga class to her timetable because she currently rents that space out to a yoga instructor. And this yoga instructor pays her a set amount of money to rent that room, but this client could make more money if she ran the class herself. And I was like, okay, why not just, so she already runs Pilates classes. I was like, so why would you not just run another Pilates class in that session? She said, I thought there's obviously a want for it because people are already coming to the class. So why don't I just run the class and kick the person out who is renting the space? And I said, okay, let's look at what we'd have to do here. So do we have anybody trained in yoga? No. Okay, so we'd have to find somebody that's got the qualifications and trained in yoga. So that could be somebody in-house, but that's a cost to them or to you. It could be somebody externally, which you're then having to bring them into your business for maybe 1 hour a week. It's not great to just deliver a session. What happens if they're away? You've then got to find cover, and you don't have cover because nobody else is trained in yoga in the whole of the business. So that becomes a problem. We've not got any kind of resilience there. We've also then got to think that the yoga type of client might be different to the person that does Pilates. And we've seen this before in my clinic. We've tried to get yoga off the ground and it doesn't work. And it doesn't work for a few different reasons. It doesn't work because the ideal client that we are trying to attract into our clinic isn't necessarily the person that would do yoga. We are a rehab-based pain and injury facility that we are all trained in Pilates and we believe in Pilates. I am a trained Pilates instructor. So therefore, naturally, my enthusiasm is for Pilates. So there's all those reasons why it just doesn't really work. We then have to think about, if your ideal client is different, you've got to have a whole different marketing campaign. You might need to have a whole different package structure and program that they come into. It might be a different pricing model, who knows? You might have to think about the churn rate in yoga compared to Pilates, and is it a commodity versus a real kind of need? So we end up having a thing that on the surface looks like a great idea because there's opportunity to make money, but actually when we delve into it, it's just a massive distraction. I was like, just double down on your Pilates marketing and just get that class filled with Pilates members and use that hour instead for your Pilates classes. So where are you chasing new things? Where are you suffering the real cost of distraction? Because building new services, bringing new team members in, putting new systems in place takes months of effort. It takes time. It takes money in terms of marketing spend, staff costs, training, software, and it takes up energy. And when your spread is thin, your team and clients feel that, and your business really feels that. I think I said on a call yesterday with some of our clients, when you say yes to something, you are having to say no to something else. So you need to choose what you say yes to, and you need to really choose what you say no to. Because if you think about, you've got 10 plants at home that you want to grow into like this amazing big forest, and you can't possibly nurture and water all of these all the time and do everything that you need for every tree. You've got to focus on growing one strong tree first, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So many of us are moving away from what feels simple and moving away from what feels strategic because we might feel a bit bored, a bit unfulfilled, or we're not moving quick enough. Actually, what I've come to learn that a business that feels like when you set the strategy and you go, is that it? Okay, we can definitely make that happen. That's what we need to lean into. Like, I set strategy in my clinic and in Thrive all the time. And I never come away from those meetings going, oh my God, this sounds so complicated and so convoluted and so many things that I need to do. It's quite simple to get to where we need to be. And a simple business is a great business. So where are your distractions? Where are your dilutions? What are you focusing on that is not making a bean of difference to your bottom line? Another example of somebody, it was actually one of our integrators. Now, for those of you who don't know what an integrator is, in our Ascend program, which is our top level program, that works with clinic owners who are, they're big enterprises. They're $500,000 plus a year. Most of them, they've been coached for a long time with us. And they're a fabulous bunch of people. They usually have a practice manager or an integrator. We call them visionary and integrators. And your integrators are the people that make shit happen. Okay. You are the ideas person, you are the visionary, you are the CEO, you sit in that seat, and then you have that integrator that sits underneath you. And one of the integrators came on a Q&A call yesterday to ask a question that my visionary has got all these ideas. And I was like, yes, that's what a visionary does. The integrator's job is to discern which of those ideas we strategically need to move forwards with that align with the bigger profit goals and revenue goals of the clinic. And often for many of you listening to this, you're going to be in the integrator seat and the visionary seat. And I'm going to tell you now that most of you are not wired to be integrators. Most of you are not wired for operations, because it's probably not the reason that you've gone to run your own business. It's because you're a visionary. Anyway, that aside, if you do have an integrator, their job is to be able to say, okay, these are all great ideas, but all those there are not going to happen this quarter or this half of the year, or maybe this year at all, because they're not going to move us towards our revenue and profit goals and our vision in the easiest, simplest way. So I was elevating her confidence in really looking at these ideas and not just saying yes to them all because the visionary and the boss has said so. It's about discerning what you need to move forward with. And she gave me three examples. She said, we're doing a walking club, a running club, and a Pilates class. I was setting up Pilates, and I was like, wow, okay, there's 3 different services, 3 different types of clients, 3 different marketing campaigns, and we're trying to do them all at once. That's very confused marketing. So choose one. Choose the one with the lowest hanging fruit that's going to make the biggest difference to your revenue and profit. What was that? It was Pilates. Okay. So we need to now specifically build out a marketing plan and a business plan to add Pilates into your revenue projections, your profit projections, your staffing costs, your delivery costs. What does that actually need to look like to get this off the ground? And actually, when you think about the whole thing that comes around that, it's huge. You can't possibly then focus on running and walking club at the same time, because that in itself is a totally different business model. That is more about exposure. That's a long-term gain for that clinic. So your job as a business owner, whether you're in the visionary seat and you have an integrator, or whether you are both, is, I say to lots of my clients, just have a list at the back of your journal, which is all the great ideas I've had. I'm not necessarily going to implement them all now, list. Because your ideas will come to you at the most random times, in the shower, when you're on holiday, when you're on a plane, when you're driving somewhere, and you just need to write all of your ideas down. Business owners that try and just act on all of them and think that it's going to make a difference to the way their business runs, you're going to fall short every time. There is some kind of statistic is probably the right word around when you bring in a new process, a new system, a new service, a new thing into your business, what you will see in the short term is a drop in revenue and profit. And I want to say 20%, which is significant, isn't it? Because what happens is we've invested time, energy, money, ever into bringing that thing in. So it's going to cost us money. It's going to cost us time. Time is money. It's going to cost us energy.
We've had to say no to something else and say yes to this. So we will see this drop. Now, if this thing is not going to make me a net gain of more than 20%, then I'm losing out. So the clinics that are constantly adding services, constantly adding things into the mix, are the ones often that are just seeing that, oh, I'm not seeing the profit come through, not seeing the profit come through. Oh, I'm just going to try this next idea, hoping that's going to get them to where they want to be. So be really mindful of the cost of putting new things in place and being really clear about, is this thing does it align with our mission and our vision? Do we have the capacity to do it really well? Is our core offer performing at 80% plus efficiency first? If your team are not converting at 85% plus and are not retaining at 5 plus visits on average, fix that shit first. Will this serve our best clients or will it just confuse them? And are we choosing this from a place of strategy or scarcity? Because I know most of you are choosing and making decisions from a place of scarcity. And that is the wrong place to make decisions from in your business. Focus isn't limiting. Focus stands for focus on one course until successful. It's really powerful. And sometimes we have to just go, I'm going to rip up all these to-do lists that I've got that I've just built up over a period of weeks and months, and all the shit is still not getting done. It cannot be that urgent. It cannot be that important. And what we often find is when we stay strategic and we stay really focused, our to-do list is less, but it's more powerful. So what is the one thing that you need to stop or say no to this week? And what's the one thing you need to go all in on? Take a moment to really reflect on that after this episode, because listening is one thing, doing is another. Those that do on the back of these episodes are the ones that take their clinics to the next level and their lives to the next level. And if you are not sure, or if you feel lost and you don't have a strategy, or you feel like you're just on a hamster wheel of doing the do from day to day, then you need to reach out and you need to ask for help, because that is what a great coach does. They hold you accountable. They make you way more strategic. They stop you chasing the things that are not going to make any difference in your business. They help take out all of that learning phase of making all the mistakes. They just go, no, just do it this way because we've been there and done that. We know what works and we know what doesn't work. But it really helps you create more time, create more freedom, create more profits, because that is what we are doing it for. We are doing it to live a delicious life and have it all, whatever all means to you. If you listen to this and you're thinking, I've got so much on my list and I need permission to not do some of it, then I would really encourage you to reach out and get one of our clinic growth calls booked in, where we will go through with you what this vision actually looks like. Where do you actually want to be in the next 12 months? What challenges are getting in your way and what you need to stop and what you need to say no to, and how we can help you move forward if we think we are the absolute perfect fit for you. I hope you've enjoyed this quick, powerful, focused episode, and I look forward to chatting to you again next week.